For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a Monday Dirt Talk episode. This is going to be the final installment, the final reading from the story of Ames. The book is Persistence Creates Opportunity, Building America for 50 Years. It's an amazing book. There's all kinds of fun stuff in here. I could probably do another 5 or 6 readings. I'm looking right now at relocating the crusher at Kennecott, for example. It's just amazing what this company's done, but I'm going to stop after this. This was what I really wanted to get to. There were 3 parts before this, part 1, part 2, part 3. The story of Ames, starting from the very beginning. It's phenomenal. If you haven't listened to them, I suggest you go back and listen in order because it's a story worth hearing. This in particular is about potentially one of the most transformative jobs in the history of Ames. And I won't spoil it quite yet. Let me just start reading and you'll quickly figure out what it is. So to preface this, Ames Construction historically maintained a low profile in the industry. However, the company's unassuming presence did not prevent the firm from being awarded contracts for major projects across the nation. In 1989, the company broke ground on one of the largest heavy civil projects in the world. This project would not only increase the company's visibility on a national scale, but cement its position as a leading transportation construction contractor in the United States. And I hope you enjoy this part of the story as much as I do because it is just fascinating. In the late 1980s, Denver, Colorado was on the forefront of development to address a growing population of air travelers by deciding to replace its aging 60-year-old Stapleton Airport. The city of Denver took advantage of the wide open spaces that surrounded the metropolitan area and purchased a 53 square mile parcel of land located within a 30-minute drive from downtown. Here, the new airport would have easy access to the metropolitan area while giving the new complex room to grow. Under the leadership of Denver Mayor Federico Pena, the city devised a forward-looking plan to design and build an airport that could easily be expanded over the next 50 years as demand required. The proposed airport included a unique pinwheel runway layout that provided efficient flow of aircraft traffic to and from the passenger concourses. The 6 initial runways had short taxi distances that would minimize the conflicts with traffic to other runways. The design also allowed for future runways to be built as needed, up to a maximum of 12. Each of the 3 initial concourses could be expanded, and the master plan allowed sufficient space to construct 2 additional concourses. This easily expandable midfield terminal and concourse design would mark Denver International Airport as one of the most efficient airfields in the world. According to Mayor Pena, it is the single most important undertaking of the next century for the entire Rocky Mountain region. Ames Construction had been working on projects in the Denver area for 7 years. The company itself was now in its 28th year and had well-developed earth-moving expertise. It had worked on many different types of projects with some of the largest engineering firms in the country. All of the projects they had performed up until this time, from highway and residential developments to power plants and mining projects, had prepared Ames Construction to undertake a complex and massive project like the new Denver airport. The company was ready for the challenge. To prepare their bid for the initial site grading contract, Tom and Larry Ames rented property adjacent to the new airport site and hauled several scrapers and other equipment to that site. They dug a huge test excavation and constructed a test fill. According to Larry, we moved 50,000 cubic yards to get an indication of what kind of material we would be dealing with, how easily it could be excavated, and how much processing would be needed to reach the required levels of compaction. That helped us determine how to bid the job. But in order to bid the work as a prime contractor, Ames also needed to secure payment and performance bonds. Several of the other contractors doubted the company's ability to get bonding and dismissed Ames as a legitimate contender for the project. Some competitors thought that Ames Construction could not get the surety credit to bid the job, recalled Don Olson, the surety agent. They could, and they did. Ames secured the necessary bonds, bid the project, and was awarded the contract. Because the Ames bid price was much lower than its competitors' pricing, other contractors suggested that the project was doomed for failure. The city was concerned because it wanted to be sure the first project would proceed without interruptions or delay, said Pat, legal counsel for Ames Construction at that time. Despite the reservations expressed by their competitors, Ames Construction held on to the contract, but not without a lot of skepticism on the part of people reviewing the bid. One of our reviewers was adamant that we would not meet the schedule, recalled Gordy. He told Tom Ames that we would never get that dirt moved because you can't move dirt in Denver in the winter. Ames had heard all of this before. Tom just grinned and told him, "You just wait and see." Turns out it was a beautiful winter for earthwork. On November 13th, 1989, Ames Construction broke ground on what would come to be referred to as the world's first super hub, featuring a 16,000-foot international runway. The finished DIA project would be several times larger than the existing Stapleton Airport with no room to grow. The initial contract required that Ames Construction move 36 million cubic yards of dirt in 17 months, an extremely aggressive schedule by any measure. The company attacked the project with a self-imposed goal to beat that deadline. I can still remember the day when Larry and I were running numbers on the back of a pickup out in the field, recalled Brad Thomas, Ames grading superintendent. We were figuring out how many yards of dirt we needed to move in a continuous 24-hour period in order to beat the deadline. The city had imposed a $35,000 penalty for every day beyond the deadline that work remained uncompleted, but that was far less motivating than the company's own ambition. Ames set a goal to move an average of 100,000 cubic yards per 24-hour period. That goal was often surpassed and, at times, more than doubled. Ames's aggressive plan for the work reduced the time needed to complete the project from 500 to only 370 calendar days. To accomplish the goals they set for themselves, the operation needed to be highly orchestrated. Tom supervised the scraper work and Larry oversaw the work of the Holland loader and haul trucks. The scraper operators moved at breakneck speed to complete their 2,500-foot round trips, yet worked in unison and kept their machines synchronized so the dozers had little, if any, wait time. I had never experienced the immense productivity that this company was able to achieve, said Alfonso Al Cordova, heavy equipment operator. This was a contractor's dream. More than 300 Ames employees worked nonstop, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, using an army of operators, maintenance personnel, and a fleet of support equipment, including Cat D9s, D10s, 631 scrapers, 776 tractors pulling pairs of 140-ton and 120-ton bottom dump trailers, and a Holland 700 belt loader. The belt loader was pulled by a Cat D10 dozer and pushed by a D9 dozer, and the operator controlled 4 engines at the same time to load the trains. To prevent rocks from damaging the loader belt, D10N ripper dozers were used to rip in front of the loader to remove the rocks. The only equipment allowed to rest at night were the rock drill, the largest rock hammer built at the time, and the 750-ton Cat 773 off-road haul trucks, which were primarily used to haul oversized rock. Not using this equipment at night resulted in only a slight drop in production rates after dark. Despite encountering unexpected layers of very hard, highly cemented sandstone in many of the site areas, Ames set a pace unequaled by other contractors on the project by moving the first 30 million cubic yards of dirt in 10 months, a remarkable achievement by anyone's standards. To put the magnitude of the work that we had done in perspective, Larry said, there were 70-foot cuts and 60-foot fills to bring areas to grade. The entire work area covered nearly 3 square miles. Maintaining the equipment was crucial to productivity, and the Denver Airport project became a breeding ground for innovation to achieve maximum performance. One of the first things Dick told me when he hired me, said Ralph, equipment manager, was that he didn't want a bunch of yes men. They needed people who understood the equipment and the challenges, who were willing to provide an opinion and constructive input. In many ways, the Denver project also served as a testing ground for the equipment manufacturers and dealers as Ames Construction pushed the machines to their limits. Manufacturers, reps, and technicians spent long hours on the site observing how their machines performed. We put huge sideboards on the scrapers and many reinforcements in the bowls, said Ralph. Caterpillar said it couldn't be done, but we showed them that it worked. Sideboards were also placed on the offside of the big trailers to expand capacity. Ralph and his crew scrutinized all aspects of the operation to find areas for improvement. For example, with the 24/7 schedule, the equipment tires never had time to cool down. They studied the major brands to determine which ones performed best in that high-temperature environment and put new tires on the entire fleet. With those big sideboards on the scrapers, we had to be sure that the tires would handle the load under continuous use, said Ralph. Maintaining the correct air pressure in the tires of the entire fleet was key. It was a full-time job to keep the tires inflated to the correct pressure. There were times when the company was using more than 25,000 gallons of fuel per day. With the half-hour lunch break and the 2 and 1/2 hour shutdown schedule, the oilers had little time to reload the fuel trucks. Crews used an overhead fuel stand to reload fuel into the lube trucks. We could pump 2,000 gallons of fuel in 5 minutes, recalled Steve White, oiler. You just had to be careful not to pull the trigger at the wrong time. Other innovations included installing a ripper on the back of the 834 rubber-tired dozer, putting a reinforced blade across the bottom of the front side of the water wagon tanks so they could help level the fill, and constructing large elevated water storage ponds around the site, complete with 16-inch discharge pipes and automatic water valves so workers could load the water wagons more quickly. We designed and built a flow fill plant that was used by Ames and many other contractors for pipe and footing backfill, said Doug Eschens, lead equipment manager. And we spread out our excavators 20 to 24 feet wide to pre-dig at night so we could lay pipe the next day. We laid many miles of pipe for the project. Air filters had to be changed every hour and a half on the back engine of the Holland loader, at a cost of more than $100 apiece. To cut costs, they found someone who would clean the old ones so they could be reused. We later redesigned the intake tube to keep air cleaners and engines cleaner, said Doug. Ames designed and installed an automatic grease system on the Holland loader, which had over 120 grease zerks. This greased all day, every day on a timer, saving 20 minutes or more at shutdown, so our oilers had time to service other machines. The Holland loader was considered a high productivity machine, but Doug was relieved that Ames only had one of them on site. When the Holland loader needed repair, it really impacted production, he said. If a call went out that the Holland was down, there would be 10 mechanics swarming all over it within a few minutes, and we'd work on it until it was fixed, even if that meant working 24 hours straight. Ames Construction continued its aggressive DIA work schedule and remained well ahead of the project deadlines. In the fall of 1990, the company was awarded a second prime contract for earthwork, piping, and concrete drainage structures associated with runway 16L-34R, including the air cargo maintenance area. The earthwork portion of this second contract allowed Ames Construction to incorporate even more efficient use of equipment at the site. The second contract provided Ames the opportunity to haul dirt from the initial site preparation contract to nearby fill areas on the runway project. According to Paul Gallagher, project manager, dirt was moved economically to accommodate the excavation needed for one project and the embankment required for the other. Confidence continued to build in Ames's ability on the Denver project, and in July 1991, a third prime contract was awarded to the company. The third project was for additional earthwork, concrete and box culverts, and included foundations and supports for drainage piping and drainage structures, including 20 miles of storm drain. The heavy workload was not restricted to the 24/7 schedule for equipment operations at the site. Paperwork to satisfy city and county regulations and restrictions also increased, creating additional work for Ames project managers, superintendents, safety, and personnel managers involved in all these multi-million-dollar contracts. Ames Construction continued to prove its ability to handle the growing workload. In December 1991, a fourth prime contract was awarded to the company for earthwork and drainage construction for runway 7L-24R. By that time, building structures for the airport had begun to take shape, including the terminal and concourses. Ames was offered and accepted significant additional subcontract work from the various building contractors. At one point, Ames had over 300 employees on site, and in addition to other work, their crews moved more than 200,000 cubic yards of material in a single 24-hour period. With several prime contracts and multiple subcontracts on the DIA project, Ames Construction solidified its reputation as an efficient and dependable contractor. The growing reputation for efficiency and dedication of time and talent to meet commitments and exceed expectations on such a massive project was a credit to the Ames work ethic. Yet, at all times, concern for employee safety was at the forefront of operations. The company's focused attention on safety, along with weekly safety training sessions, helped to keep safe work practices on the minds of every worker. In over 4 years of work at the DIA site, Ames paid out a total of only $4,200 in claims, had no litigation, and experienced no incidents that required hospitalization, experienced no incidents that required hospitalization or caused serious injury to employees or others on the site. The company's ever-vigilant efforts to keep employees safe also earned Ames Construction several Safe Contractor of the Month awards. Safety Director Roger McBride explained, "The safe completion of DIA is truly a landmark in the construction industry. I am impressed with the amount of effort it has taken to keep the project running safely amid all the hazards and risks associated with the aggressive schedule of a project this size." Combining all the work performed from November of 1989 through August of 1994, Ames was by far the largest civil contractor on the new Denver International Airport site, with contracts totaling more than $250 million. As the first contractor on site for the start of this massive undertaking, the company received national attention from the press and the community. All eyes watched as the company performed far beyond all expectations and delivered consistent and unequaled productivity at the site. No longer viewed as a minor contender by its competitors, Ames Construction had earned new respect, visibility, and acclaim in the construction industry. So I think it's worth reviewing some of the facts here. I've said some of this stuff, but the numbers are just incredible, and I think it's worth diving into again. On November 13th, 1989, Ames Construction broke ground on one of the largest projects in the world, the new Denver International Airport, otherwise known as DIA. Working an area that spanned nearly 3 square miles, 300 Ames employees worked nonstop, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, from late 1989 to 1994. Scraper operators moved at breakneck speed to complete their 2,500-foot round trips, keeping their machines synchronized to eliminate wait time. Equipment included Caterpillar D9, D10, 631 scrapers, Cat 776 tractors pulling pairs of 140 and 120-ton bottom dump trailers, and a Holland 700 belt loader to increase productivity. Ames set a pace unequaled by other contractors on the project by moving the first 30 of 36 million cubic yards of dirt in 10 months, a remarkable achievement by anyone's standards. The innovations to increase efficiency: sideboards were placed on all the scrapers in the offside of the big trailers to expand capacity. To withstand the 24/7 schedule, Ames standardized the type of tires used on the entire fleet. Crews built a high-capacity fueling station to load the lube trucks, able to pump 2,000 gallons of fuel in 5 minutes. Ripper teeth were installed on the back side of the 834 rubber-tired dozers so it could perform double duty. A reinforced blade was installed across the bottom of the front side of the water wagon tanks so they could help level the fills. Elevated water ponds were used for faster loading of the water wagons. Designed and built a plant to produce the flowable fill that was used by Ames and other contractors for pipe and footing backfill on site. Then they designed and installed an automatic grease system on the Holland loader, saving 20 minutes or more at shutdown so oilers had time to service the other machines. Combining all the work performed on DIA, Ames was by far the largest and most efficient civil contractor on the new Denver International Airport, with contracts totaling more than $250 million. Ames was awarded 6 prime contracts and over 40 subcontracts. They moved 130 million cubic yards of material. They installed over 90 miles of pipe. They placed over 80,000 cubic yards of structural concrete in drainage structures and bridges, and produced and placed 400,000 cubic yards of flowable backfill used for all utility backfill under paved areas at the airport. So, that is the Denver International Airport story, the Ames Construction story. It's an amazing story. I've had the pleasure of visiting with Ames a few times now around the United States. I visit with them again at one of the sites I've spoken about on this podcast next week. I can't wait to get back out there. It's a American success story. It's still, even though as big as it is, seems like a small family business. And I love being around this company and seeing what they're doing. So if you want to learn more about Ames Construction, you can go to their website, amesconstruction.com. They have a lot of great information on there. They talk a lot about their projects, their history. I wish I could give everybody a copy of this book. If you can find it, it's called Persistence Creates Opportunity. I don't know where to find it. Wish I could help, but sorry, I can't. And with that, I'll see you on the next one. If you have any feedback as far as a story you want to hear, or send a book, I'm happy to read other books that are out there. I have some that I'm thinking of right now. There's some other pretty legendary contractors out there that I could talk about, but I thought Ames was the best one to start with. So write us if you have ideas, dirttalk@buildwit.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Stay dirty, everybody.